Hey guys, welcome to our last lesson in critical thinking, lesson 7. I'm kind of sad we don't get to go to the other ones, but anyway, we got a really good start. This one's about finding resources. So this is something that you guys have already learned about, but at the same time, it's something good to review, good to hear other people's opinions, good to hear other people's standards in it, about when you're doing research. So look what it says. The greatest achievement of the human spirit is to live up to one's opportunities and make the most of one's resources. Okay, so use what you got, right? Here we go. Look what it says in lesson summary. Sometimes when you have to make an important decision, you don't have all the facts. You need to help you make the best choice. Other times, especially at work or school, you may be asked to produce evidence to justify a decision you've made. In this lesson, you'll discover the best ways to find the information you need to make and justify the decisions and solutions to your problems. Okay, so listen, there's like a twofold function in here. That one, you need to have the resources to make an important decision, and two, you need to have the resources to justify a decision that you made, because sometimes you do have to answer to people as to why you made that decision, right? So we're talking about finding those resources. It says many decisions and solutions don't require a lot of work. After all, you don't need to gather much information to decide when to study for an exam or whether to bake a pie or a cake. You already know the facts, so you simply use them to make a wise decision. But what if you don't know which facts to base a decision on? What if there are things you aren't familiar with that really need to be considered? That's where thinking critically comes into play. You do whatever you can to find accurate information about the missing details, knowing that the quality of a decision is only as good as the information used to make it. So listen to that again. You do whatever you can to find accurate information about the missing details, knowing that the quality of a decision is only as good as the information used to make it. Okay? That can happen in many real life decision-making processes, guys, that you have a choice between digging for more information or just going with the information that you have and making a decision. But you have to decide like what consequences you live with. Okay, so for example, what happens if, like, let's take the EMNO for example. What happens if yesterday for the EMNO you didn't know what time the EMNO exam was at, so you just decided to go at whatever time you wanted to, and you missed it? What's going to happen there? You missed the EMNO. Is everyone going to run back to the school and do another exam just for you because you're so special, etc., etc.? No, they're not, okay? You missed it. Why? Because you didn't use your resources that you had to make a decision that was informed, right? And so you have to live with those consequences. Okay, so again, the quality of a decision is only as good as the information used to make it. So it says, let's look at 3 resources that can supply information to help you make decisions: the internet, the library, and human sources. We'll explore each one to use it, how to get the most out of it, and its possible shortcomings. Okay, so maybe the negative aspects of it. So it says, internet resources first. Research on the internet doesn't have to be confusing. You need to know what you're looking for and the best way to find it. Guys, honestly, you know the internet is the one that you're going to be using the most, okay? At your university, there might be a library. There might be an online library, and those are very good resources, you guys. If you guys can get to a good library, do it, okay? Whether or not it's right now at the university or whether it's, you go to the coast or you go to another country, get into a library, and we'll talk about that when we get there, right? But internet is going to be the most common way to get information, so make sure you're using it well. Okay, it says you just need to know what you're looking for and the best way to find it. So it's not all the time Googling it, but let's see what it says. There are 3 basic investigative methods. The first is to use a search engine. Okay, that's what we always do. Google this, so you use Google, ask.com, or Bing, but we know Google is the best one. But search engines don't always distinguish between useful and not so useful information, okay, which is very true. Google is just going to give you whatever's out there. Okay, it's not going to tell you whether or not it's good information, credible information, or anything like that. And like, for instance, like Wikipedia must pay them a bazillions of dollars because it's one of the first things you're going to see is the Wikipedia thing. But we've talked about that. It's not credible to get your information off of Wikipedia. Wikipedia would be helpful for pointing you in the right direction. You know, you read like a quick summary on there. Okay, that means I need to look up this person's name, this organization, different stuff like that, and that's going to tell me more about my topic. But it's not credible for all of your facts. Okay, it says, but right here, they simply list everything, sometimes thousands of links that seem to match your search criteria. Another way to search the internet is by using subject directories. The great advantage of this method is that the sites the directories list have been chosen by qualified people. Okay, you'll know what I mean in a second. So it's a list. A directory is a list. You're going to see what I'm talking about. Websites deemed to be of poor quality are less likely to make the directory. And some directories even hire experts in various fields to write guides to their chosen subjects and also to provide links to the related sites. Okay, so let's say you go to one of these sites. So here we go. Recommended subject directories. You have academicinfo.net, IPL.org, and infomine.ucr.edu. So what is that? Look what it says. There's one that's academic info, consistently maintained to add free educational resources, okay, for either late high school level and above while weeding out the outdated ones. Libraries Internet Index, more than 20,000 internet resources selected as the best by librarians. And InfoMine is aimed at university level instructors and students, contains 110,000 internet resources selected by university librarians. So what you do is you go into those, and then that's going to give you good links, you guys, good links that give the information that you're looking for. Okay, so for example, you go into academicinfo.net, maybe you look up cardiology. You want to know about cardiology. Okay, right there it's going to give you a list of links that you can go to for good information about cardiology. Okay, not going to give you just whatever kind of website comes up like Google would. This is going to give you ones that have been checked by people. Like, for example, these two down here, InfoMine and Librarians Internet Index, have been checked by librarians saying this is credible information and it's worth checking out so you can write a good research paper or good informing, right? The third way is to find what you are looking for on the internet is to search directly the site on which you believe the information may be found. Here's a short list of such sites. So now here are some sites that are just known for having information. Encyclopedia.com, okay? Britannica.com, education.yahoo.com/reference, okay? Google has something like that too, not just Yahoo. Google has, what is it, educational Google, something like that, where it will bring you into more academic articles about your topic, okay? So we didn't go into that at our level. That's more university level. But look up educational websites, okay? Look up academic information. Don't just get the general information about a topic, okay? And this is a good site to do it at. Other ones is dictionaries.com, okay? I have the app of dictionary.com, but actually I like the mw.com better. I haven't used the mw.com. I've used their app, I believe, because it's a different dictionary, and I like it, okay? Other fact-checking sites are right here that you can find a bazillion different resources on there. So honestly, for those of you guys that are going to the university, it would be smart of you to take time before you go into the university to look up sites like this. Try to find if there's Spanish resources in there. Look up Spanish websites like this, academic libraries, academic directories, subject directories in Spanish, okay? Google education in Google Academic, I think is what it's called, in Spanish, okay? So that you know what resources to go to, because you're going to get, when you start into the university, you're going to be told, you got 4 days to write this paper. You got a week to write this paper, right? And you have other classes to juggle. You need to know exactly where to go for the good information, okay? So look what it says, practice. Which of the following statements is not true? Go ahead. I'll read them to you because we're going to read them afterwards anyway. Some research sites on the internet make you pay for full access to information. Search engines direct you to many links, but not necessarily the best sites to answer your questions. Search engines are not the only way to look for information on the internet, and the only place you can research statistics is a library. Okay, the only one that's not true is D, you guys. Okay, that's not true. You can research statistics in other places than a library, but the other things are true. Some sites will make you pay. Don't use them. Go to somewhere else. Okay, it'd be very rare if you actually should use a website that makes you pay. But in the university, I have seen that they will make you be a member of a site that does make you pay. It is what it is, right? And B, search engines direct you to many links, but not necessarily the best sites, is true. And C, search engines are not the only way to look for information. Okay, you can do it in other ways, like Britannica.com, Dictionary.com, and all the subject directories. So look what it says, roadblock to good resources. What is the most common obstacle to find factual, pertinent information? It is the proliferation of poorly researched or even knowingly false data. Okay, so what is the biggest obstacle of the internet for writing a paper or for getting information? False information. Okay, false information, because you have to be able to know whether or not it's false, right? So look what it says. Primarily found on the internet, fiction posing as facts or simply slipshod work can look like the real thing because legitimate websites with accurate content reside side by side with poor quality sites. It can be difficult to tell the difference, and that's for real. And the reason why it's more common now is because the internet is more common. Okay, back when the internet wasn't that common and we were using books to research more than anything, no one's going to write an entire, let's not say no one. Not many people are going to write an entire book of false information, okay? Those are not as common. But false websites with false information or opinions posing as facts, super common, okay? So you got to be careful with those. Look what it says. The best way to avoid getting poor information is to be suspicious. Mr. Mark taught you that. I've taught you that. Be cynical. Don't trust anything, okay? Always be going, are you for real? Are you sure? Well, why? Right? Do not take any information you find on the internet as truth until you can substantiate it with duplicate information on at least 3 other websites. Okay, that's at least 3 other websites. Let's take something general. How old is the Queen of England? Okay, you go to one website, it says she's 96. You go to another website, it says she's 95. You go to another website, 95. Another website, 95. Okay, a lot of times if you Google something like that, if you look at a fact and you say like, I don't really believe that. Did this really happen? Google it. Okay, did this really happen? You'll find it right there. Boom, boom, boom. 3 sites that claim say yes, or 3 sites that don't, right? You can look at those sites and pretty easily see whether or not it is true or not, okay? A lot of times, too, like if I go to fact check something and I'm like, did this really happen? Or did our president really say that? Or what's the context here, okay? A lot of times they'll say like, fake news discovered, or was he trying to trick us, or something like that. And the internet will already know that you're going to doubt this, okay? And then help you to know whether or not, that's just a rumor, no one actually confirmed that, or different things like that. And you got to be careful, guys. You can't be one of the ones that spreads more false news, okay? Be suspicious. Be skeptic is the word. I said cynical, right? Be skeptic. Have skepticism. Don't believe everything, okay? So make sure you can find it in 3 different places if you're doubting it. Read the tips in lesson 8. Sorry, we're not going to read lesson 8 this year, okay? But anyway, just find 3 different websites that say the same thing so you can fact check it. Compare the ideas and arguments of a person with others in the same profession. The more his or her views differ from the majority on the subject, the more critical you should be of the ideas. Guys, the one thing about the internet as well, okay, let's take for example, let me give you an example of this. I think this is the one that goes into bias. No, it's in the next one, but that's okay. You guys know a lot of this already. But let's take right now the United States. The United States is divided, okay? You have the very conservative people. Like I've told you guys this before. You have the Republicans, those that love Donald Trump, okay? Now you have the liberals that love Joe Biden, okay? I am part of the group that was supposed to love Donald Trump, but I didn't, okay? But it definitely don't mean I love Joe Biden, because I don't. But the majority of the people are one or the other, okay? Or you're in the middle. You could be in the middle. But most people are either Donald Trumpers or Joe Bideners. And what you're going to see nowadays is all of the information that you're going to get about these people is super, super intense, okay? Either you're going to hear that Donald Trump is del diablo, or you're going to hear that he's an angel sent from God. And all the news is going to be like that, okay? Joe Biden, same thing. Joe Biden, all he has to do right now is open his mouth, and a huge number of Christians will just attack this man, okay? So it's very hard to get good information about, like, what did he say, what really happened in different occasions of his speeches and different stuff like that, where they pull out one sentence that he said and just attack him for days on it, okay? So you have to be careful. You have to be skeptical. You have to say, like, well, what was the context? Did I get the full story? Is there another view on this? Okay? And exactly what they said here were the tips. Get somebody in that field, okay? If we're talking about COVID, get a medical expert. Don't get a politician's opinion. We don't care about the politicos' opinion on COVID because they're not the ones researching it, okay? So you have to be careful there to look at the context. It was last year, I think it was, that the New York governor got in like big trouble for what he said in a speech. But the news articles and the news stations, all they were doing was giving you that one part of the speech. So I went back and I watched the whole speech, and you learn different stuff, you guys. You have to look at the context of where people are instead of just believing everything that the media tells you. Okay, so especially if you're going to go do research, don't get sucked into just news stories from Fox or news stories from Rotana de Claro or blah, 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 right? No, you got to get expert opinions about what is going on that you are researching. So what it says, practice. You are building a house and need to decide how to heat it. The contractor can put in a natural gas, propane, or electric furnace. You want to choose the option that is least expensive to operate. A search on the internet yields 5 results. Which websites will most likely have the information you need to make a decision? So you're talking about natural gas, propane, or electric furnace to heat your house. So is it number 1, the Environmental Protection Agency site? Number 2, the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers. Number 3, an educational website about the use of wood in home heating units. 4, the corporate site for a retailer of electric power home heating units. Or number 5, Kansas State University's Engineering Extension website. Here they said that it was 2 and 5. I could see that you did number 3 maybe, because number 3 might mention something about heating that you're looking for as well. But the best ones would be 2 and 5, okay? Especially 2. Okay, with the American Society of blah, blah, blah. But the Environmental Protection Agency has nothing to do with how you're going to heat your house. Okay? Let's keep going because I know this is long. The library. Print resources. That's what the library is. Things already in print. Although it might sometimes seem otherwise, everything of interest has ever been written is not on the internet, nor can it be searched for on the internet. There are still 5 important reasons to do research at the library. Okay? So let's go through them quickly. Number 1, you have librarians. Those are trained professionals to help you find what you are looking for, okay? So that's like somebody going with you to the internet, okay? They're going to know where to look. So librarians. Number 2, Non-searchable print. There are millions of books that have never made it into websites. Books that are old, and by the way, guys, researching old sources, there's a place for it. It's important, okay? Number 3, reliability of information. Not all information on the internet is accurate. Anyone can publish online, but that's not the same as a book. In order to get a book to be published, there are publishers that read through those books, make sure your facts are right, and make sure that it's a credible source for them to put their name on it as the publisher. Number 4, finding anything that is not historical or current. The internet is a great resource for information that is very old or very new. For instance, you can find the Magna Carta and current state and federal statutes, but legal research on anything in the early to mid 20th century is difficult to nearly impossible to find on the internet, so you have to go to a library. And number 5, the price. The use of a library is free, okay, and the research on some internet websites is not, okay? So practice. List 5 types of information you are more likely to find in a library than on the internet. It says right here, using the information from this section on library resources, you may have mentioned topics that might be found in back issues of local newspapers or periodicals or in reference books that charge high subscription rates on the internet. Also listed could be facts about obscure subjects or documents from the early to mid 20th century. All I'm going to tell you is that if you go to a university that has a library, use it, because your papers and informants and stuff like that will be a lot better with the library resources mixed in with your internet resources. Okay, look what it says, going to the experts. Sometimes you can't find out what you need to know from a website or the library. The information might be very timely, such as interest rates on mortgages that change daily, or it just might not be published. In such a case, you need to find a person or people who have the information you are looking for. So this is your third thing. You have the internet, you have the library, and now you have human sources. Experts are simply those who know their subjects and can be relied upon to supply correct information. Getting information from an expert can be simple. You might just have to look up a number in the phone book or make a quick call. Or it can involve a number of steps. You might need to do some research first to find your expert, such as asking around or using the resources of your library or the internet. Once you have a name and contact information, you can proceed to gather information. The great benefit of finding an expert you can trust who has the facts you need is that he or she can save you time. Instead of hunting for information from sources that may or may not yield what you are looking for, you have a reliable source. A loan officer at your bank will know exactly what the current mortgage rate is and be able to explain the difference in cost long-term between a 15 and a 20-year mortgage. Related questions may be answered without consulting other websites or print resources. So if you can go straight to the source, go straight to the source. Okay? Also, that's like YouTube links as well. If it's a for real expert in something, you can learn a lot more from them than reading a book. Okay? But like, look, if Brian and I need to know the documents for marriage, right? Here to do the matrimonio civil, yeah? Who are we going to go to? The internet or the Mooney that's going to tell us the list? Well, probably the Mooney, because they're the ones that are going to accept it. Okay, that's going to an expert instead of going on to the internet. So tip, recognizing that you don't have all the answers yourself is an important first step. Then you need to determine who or what you should consult and what questions to ask to find the solution. So look, this is the last thing, checking credentials. You can't rely on information you get from a so-called expert until you determine that he or she has the proper credentials, which means that they really are an expert. Ask questions. Where is this expert getting his or her information? On what sources does this person rely? How is he or she qualified to provide you with the information you seek? Okay, Paula found you guys an expert for Trabajo Social. We know that she's a student, so we already knew how ton expert she was, that she doesn't have a lot of experience, but at the same time, she studied it, okay, and we did learn things from her. That is what you're doing when you're checking the credentials. For example, let's say Marty wants to know how many people use the picnic area in the city park this summer. She calls the park and recreation department and asks if someone can help her. The person on the phone puts Marty on hold and then gives her a number to answer her question. Marty should ask where the number came from. Is it the officially recorded number of people who reserved picnic space? and how many people were in their parties, or is it an estimate of the number of people who based on counts in previous years? Okay, it just depends. You should ask the credibility. Practice. Here we go. Ted wants to stress the importance of recycling to his children. He constantly reminds them to put cans and plastic items in the recycling bins he's set up in the garage. One day, his youngest daughter asks, "What do they do with this stuff anyway?" Ted really doesn't know, so he can't answer her question. But he suggests they research together to find out, which is the best way for Ted and his daughter to get the information they need. A, write a letter to the mayor of the town. B, look it up in the local newspaper. C, call or visit a local recycling center. Or D, check out their state's website. C, call them. Ask them what they do with it. Okay, they're the experts. In short, your solutions and decisions are only as good as the information you use to make them. Sometimes you need only to deal with facts already known to you. In other instances, you may need to do some research. The 3 best resources to consult are the Internet Library and other experts. Knowing how and when to use each type of resource can mean the difference between making an uninformed decision and standing solidly behind the facts as you solve problems and decide among various options. Okay? So what I want you guys to do today, you already participated with the practice. I just wanted you to hear this information. Give me a 5-sentence summary on it. Why it's important to know how to find your resources, where they come from, so that you can keep it in your head. Because it's not just for the university, it's for life. You're always going to be searching information, you guys, and you need to know where to get it. Bye. And you need to know how important it is to get it, and not just make up answers and invent answers and just live with the consequences. No, better to research. Bye.